So I've had this about 10 days or so now. I've spent quite a bit of time just getting it sorted out. Rear rack is a bit beefy but practical. It can get a little bit near the seat, you know, if you have the post low with the suspension. I'm not so bad because I've got to drop a post on and I sit quite tall. I'm 6'2". The original seat post is too low, you know, for a tall guy. You'd have to invest in a longer seat post, but I've nicked that off my other mountain bike. I've got a Cube mountain bike and bought a shim, put it on, drop a post, so just, yeah, it's the future. Getting on and off, ducking down under branches, and then getting your weight back when you go in steep, you know, downhill. Yeah, rear suspension's kind of adequate. I've got it pumped up to 130, I think, 140, something like that for me, with luggage on. And it's not the best or the worst, it's kind of adequate. Temi bottle holder is quite good because you don't have to slide it in and out in the limited space. They're only about £3. Changed the steering head for an adjustable one, so to bring the bars a little bit closer, not necessarily higher. That suits me much better. And as I say, I'm tall, you know, that seat's up, so it follows that the handlebars will go with it. These ergon grips I've used before. They're really good, lock-on grips, good for the road and then good for off-road. If anyone's looking for inspiration, £20 per of them will do. Nice little by-product for the handlebars is the phone holder, goes on that stem there, and that just sits under the clocks. Gears are quite good. 9-speed cassette, and I thought, you know, they're going to be a little bit tall, you know, for proper off-road, but it's surprisingly okay as long as you get a run up. It's not as good as, obviously, you know, the big mountain bike with the 12-speed and the granny gears and that, but I also find the old-fashioned indicator useful, just as a reference, a quick glance down to make sure, you know, I'm where I need to be, because if you get the gears wrong going up a steep climb, you ain't going to get up there, and it's heavy. One thing that's concerned me is the big crank wheel here, you know, the clearance. Look how far that's sticking down. But to be fair, I've been up with some fairly bumpy stuff and I've not had any issues with it. Maybe, you know, the wheels are closer together and just, you know, as the front wheel lifts it. But even with the new forks on, I've not really had an issue in some fairly tough stuff. The actual gear change itself is lovely. I think the hub motor, you know, helps with the quick fire stuff, because obviously, you know, when you're on the crank, also the crank driven motors tend to be a little bit more brittle, you know, when you're changing under load, but these are quick trigger. I've got no complaints with the gears at all. You know, the changing of them is very, very good. And the spread of the gears is, you know, it's about right for this kind of bike. You know, a granny gear at, you know, 3 miles an hour on that, it's just too heavy. Anyway, forks were rubbish. That's not fair. The forks were a disappointment. I kind of knew that before I bought it. We only had sort of limited travel, but the big problem for me was that when you hit something with them, they rebounded so violently, like a 6 or 7 inch sort of fallen branch in the woods. you sort of try and hop over it, and they compressed okay, I mean they damped okay, but as soon as you got to the top of that branch, they just catapulted the bloody wheel in the air at any speed, and you started doing a wheelie and losing control. It wasn't very nice, to be fair. These eBay specials or Amazon specials, really quite good. I was a bit worried with the extra travel. It's supposed to have 170mm, but I don't think they do. The most I've seen out of it is 130. And what worried me again was with the extra travel, you know, bashing the crank case, the chain ring. But I've not touched it. You could do if you put it somewhere daft. When you fit the forks, or if you fit the forks, people make sure that you put a button head, the reverse the bolt in effect, nuts at the front, so that this doesn't contact the stub of the bolt, which is what it did when I first put it on. It can contact the bolt here and then, you know, knock the mudguard down. Also make sure that you raise the headlamp right to the top here, so that, you know, it's not going to get in the way. We're under, you know, reasonably hard use. They have worked very well with no issues. I've not hit anything, and it is night and day better, no doubt about it. Much more travel, much plusher compression, and much less rebound for not a lot of money, 144 quid or something. Brakes I quite like. You know what others have said, kind of the front's probably a tiny bit weak, but it's managing a lot of weight. And the rear's adequate. The front's adequate, but you know, maybe in the future for not a lot of money we'll find a bigger rotor and a kit. On that subject, they have the brake light switch here, which is also an engine cutout switch, which is no good when you're trying to negotiate tight turns and off-road. So I've quite simply blanked these off, disconnected it. I still have a brake light on the front here. I still have the brake lights on the front, but now I can control the turn with the rear brake on, and the motor doesn't cut. Because before, you try and do a turn, use the brake to settle it down, it cut the motor, then the cadence sensor or the torque sensor cuts back in, there's a gap, and it got really messy. It was, not good. On that subject, the torque sensor is okay. It's better than I thought it'd be. It's not up to, the Bosch standards, where it's instant. This has a tiny delay, but it's acceptable, and with that little rear brake trick, you can keep the power on, so you don't get the on-off effect. And for the type of bike it is, it's pretty good. I'm not disappointed in it overall. Fit and finish seem very good. I've worked on it a little bit now and studied it, and there's nothing there to my mechanical eye that's offensive. And it rides quite nicely, it really does. So that's it for now. I do, spoiler alert, I do quite like it. I bounced it around a little bit, done about 150 mile. Will it be reliable? That's the one thing I can't tell anyone at the moment. But for what I bought it for, yeah, I'm kind of it's growing on me. Yeah, comfy thing. Once you've adjusted the handlebars, the reach was too much for me. It's 6'2", so with the seat and the handlebars now, so comfy. on that subject, the original seat that come with it, the cyrusher seat, is a bit of a brick. Didn't like that at all, but that's nothing unusual, is it? Most seats that you buy with a bike are, you know, quite often need changing for individual needs. So there you go. Let's go for a ride. I can't report on the long-term reliability of the thing because I've only had it 10 days, done 100 and something miles, and most of the time I've been, you know, trying to get the bike set up for me. It's easily de-restricted if anyone wants to go to private land. There's plenty of on YouTube telling you how to do that. I mean, when I'm riding in public places, I don't ride like a knob anyway. I don't want to attract myself attention. I don't want to bother anyone. But suffice to say, you know, if you know, click up a power level or two on pedal, it'll just glide along, easily glide along. I'm not going to demonstrate how fast it is. There's plenty of people on YouTube there showing you how fast it's not. I mean, I'm a motorcyclist, you know, and you know, I ride dirt bikes and motorcycles, so you know, 28 mile an hour is not going to blow my socks off. I got this for cruising, really. You know, the local woods, beach is 7 or 8 miles away, and I just want to explore places. All right, I'll not run you over, don't worry. I think we drop a post off the mountain bike, and that's much better. Not just for off-road, it's for yeah, not just for the off-road. It's getting on and off the bike, and then, you know, if you want to duck under a branch, or you know, and then of course if you do a little bit of steep stuff in the woods, you know, you can drop it down and get your arse over the rear wheel. So that's really good. One of the best inventions for a mountain bike ever. So I'll come down gear here and just put the power up a little. And this is steep. The videos don't show it, but it's effortless. I mean, I didn't realise I wasn't on power 5. One thing I don't like is that, you know, you go for the button, you hit the indicator by mistake, and then when it's sunny, you can't see, you know, you don't know the indicator's on. I'm going to disable the button somehow and get rid of them. They're too close together anyway. I don't like them. You know, plus it makes it look a bit more like a motorcycle, doesn't it? Drop a post here, duck down, and then put it back up again. Happy days. And it's not what it's for, but it's bloody handy. Yeah, forks are really good. Make any difference on this smooth path, but in the woods they're just so much better. More travel, less rebound, and so much more comfortable. It's power level 3 here, second gear I think. Again, this is fairly steep and easy. Look, mum, one hand. Oh. One thing's annoying, you know, these motor cutout on the brake. I've just disabled that there's little places like this, is what I can do. I can keep pedalling and then use the brake, you know, to control the bike. When I go through the gate. So yeah, I mean, a lot of lads, you know, will know that, you know, use the rear brake quite a lot when you're turning tightly, and yeah, that had to go. It makes it so much better. You've still got a brake light on the right lever. Even lights here, simple turn, just a tiny bit of brake, a little bit of pressure on the pedals, and just controlling it with the brake, and away we go. It stops the cut out and the cut in. It makes the transition much smoother. So when you do the forks, you have to make sure you raise the headlamp, you know, with the extra travel. Do like the gears, they skip through so easily, and with it being a hub motor, you know, even if you're pedaling, you don't get the same sort of crunch, if you like. But I only need power level 1 here, I don't know, keep forgetting. Power level 1, you know, skip it along at the legal limit and above. There's plenty on a flat road, effortless really. You probably think the power level, you know, coming a little bit high compared to, you know, the 250 watt motors that, you know, I've owned. But it's a heavy bike, and that's probably, you know, something to do with it. The torque sensor's not bad. It's not as good as the Bosch, and I think, you know, one of the biggest downfalls to this big banger will be if you get stuck on a steep hill, you know, setting off. There's no granny gear, and it's high geared. You know, it relies on the power rather than the cadence. So you tend to, it's not what it's for, I know, but you're going to miss, you know, that ridiculously short 12th gear that they have on the Bosch systems, where you can basically get up and get balanced in half a press of the pedal, you know. That ain't going to happen. But the 9 speeds is, you know, is quite well spread, to be honest, and the first gear has surprised me. It's, you know, well capable of getting up some fairly steep stuff, but you have to have a charge at it, like, you know. You use the momentum, because if you get stuck going too slow, it ain't gonna happen. And I came down here last week, and I've been down since, to be honest, and it's proper chattery here, really chattery, and these forks are just head and shoulders more control. Well, look a bit chattery, but honestly so much better. So anyone who wants to sort of go a little bit faster or go somewhere a little bit tougher, just get them forks on. Brilliantly. Use the dropper post here now. Lean back a little bit. I'm not saying you can't do this on the original forks, you can. But yeah. I suppose the only way you'll ever find that is to try them. not feeling anything, you know, on those cobbles. But for what I bought it for, it's more like this stuff I bought it for, rather than charging around in the bloody woods. And it's very plush and easy, like a gentleman's tourer, if you like, that will bounce up some, you know, more unlikely stuff. For what I bought it for, I really, really do like it. You know, just to charge around places like this and cruise. You can see, even though, you know, I rarely go over 20 mile an hour. I'm down to 22% battery. I've done 35 miles and probably 10 or 11 of that is charging about in the woods off road, so it's not bad. I haven't had it long enough to tell you what it'll do. If I blow the tyres up to 20 and on the tyre, I did 15 mile on 15% or something, you know. So I think you'd probably get, you know, with road tyre pressures and, you know, staying in power assistant 2 or 3, you'd probably get 45, 50 mile. Some lads are saying they get 60 or 70, but I don't think so. But I mean, you could do this on any bike, I know, but it's just so bloody pleasant, I've got to say. I'm quite pleased with it, to be fair. Yeah, the best thing I've done to it is the forks. They're lovely. They're worth the 150 quid without any shadow of a doubt. Make the bike, really. Also shows up, you know, that the rear shock isn't that bad on its own. When you're getting bounced around by the, you know, the budget forks, it's hard to tell what's happening. But in isolation now, you know, you can tell that the rear is not as good as the front, but it's adequate. I'm not disappointed, you know, with the rear air shock. I think it's pretty decent. So I'm in level 1 and scooting along, you know, it's no trouble at all. Very easy going. I think the one thing that might just let it down is the range. You know, if you put the Bosch engine in Eco, which makes you pedal harder, granted, but you know, I've got nearly 100 mile out of the 250 Bosch on flat ground, you know, doing what they call the Wirral Way. So from West Lancashire to Chester, it was 76 mile. I still had 2 bars of battery left. So I don't think we're going to get that. But this is a fairly steep hill, and power level 1. I'm 69 years old, and you know, I suppose I'm reasonably fit for my age, but you know, I'm romping up here. I mean, if I go mad, I go feeling it a little bit now, so put it in 4 and I'm accelerating. put it in 5, and this is a steep hill. You know, I don't know what the 1-in ratio is, but that's a steep hill, that. The only downside of doing that is it crucifies the battery, doesn't it? But yeah, for all these pensioner, that's handy. I get up there in 2 more, riding normally. I mean, not really in any hurry. As I say, the top speed thing doesn't interest me now. I've got bloody, you know, 120 horsepower bloody motorbikes if I want to go fast. And my dirt bike mirror is handy. Again, this is where the rear brake is proper handy, because I can keep the power on the pedals and control the turn with the rear brake without the motor cutting. That's so much better. Yeah, I know my area. I mean, this is horrible. It's got molehills everywhere here, and it's just gliding over it. You know, I've got a full pack of tools in the back, and probably 7 or 8 kilograms bouncing on the back as well. I'll keep the dropper post down. But the dropper post and the forks just make the thing there you go. Make the thing much better. I tell you, if this bike proves reliable, that's the caveat, isn't it? I've seen posts that say I was delivered a bike that doesn't work and rah rah rah. Then I've seen other posts there that, you know, I've had mine 2 years and done, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 kilometres. Front brake is adequate. I think, like you say, maybe bigger rotor on the front at some stage, but it's not, you know, desperate or anything. Again, the rear brake just keeping me moving. Yeah, I mean, I had a dirt bike there. I've not done much trail riding this year, and I was sat there, and I was on YouTube, I was on eBay, and on YouTube, and anyway, I sold the dirt bike and bought this, because I thought, you know, I'll get more use out of it. And I do like the other e-bike. I've had that, you know, the Bosch, the Cube e-bike. I've had 10 years. I've had 2 of them. I just wanted something a little bit different, a bit more cruisy. And I'm not disappointed in it. I'm really not. I kind of knew the forks would be a bit naff, you know, before I ordered it, and it proved to be so. But as a thing to, you know, ride round in comfort and just bounce around a few, silly boy, a few moderate trails. You wonder why, you know, the police are anti-electric. Look at that fucking idiot. I mean, he's no idea what's behind him. He doesn't care. And how could that ever be a good idea on a public road? Jesus Christ. So a little old pensioner on his e-bike. You don't need to look for me, you go look for that idiot. Yeah, very happy overall with the bike. I'll be honest, I just took a punt, and you know, for the purpose I bought it for, you know, to travel in comfort and, you know, just bosh out a few moderate trails. It's very, very nice. Kind of, you know, I'm a big boy now. If I didn't like it or thought it was rubbish, or I'd just say so. You know, write it off as a bad do and move on. But yeah, as a cruiser, very comfy, very plush, and very powerful, really. You know, in the context of a push bike, anyway.
I've no real skin in the game. I just did a bit of research and took a punt on one. I quite enjoyed it. You know, I bought it as a cruiser, you know, to sort of cruise around on like unmetal roads, and it's been reasonably handy in the woods. Quite enjoyable. Um, it seems well screwed together. The gears work nicely. It's a little bit tall for the steep stuff, unless you know, give a good sort of wind up to it. But as a cruiser, you know, on unmetal roads, with the caveat the forks are a bit rubbish, um, I'm pleased with it. I mean, what can you actually get, you know, with a big name on, full suspension, fat bike, you know, for that kind of money? The answer's not a lot in it. You know, I mean, you know, a full, you know, suspension competition e-bike, you know, I mean, they start at £4,000, don't they? And I don't want one, you know. I just want something to do,
Yeah, got
mess
up there
about
all
on and
right,
be
didn't it?
comfortable, take a load of
Struck the
gear
post
and
there.
see the countryside. So we'll see how it goes. You know, the caveat is reliability, but you know, my mechanical eye, you know, sees quite a lot of nice things on this machine. So we'll see what happens over the next few months. That's it for me. Um, keep well, keep safe, keep riding.
Ciao.